Welcome to Glisso English. Real life stories.
We see it every day. The perfect life, the luxury travel, the designer clothes. But what happens when the like button is the only thing keeping someone from total collapse? Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a story about the high cost of a fake lifestyle. We're following a character who is Instagram rich but real-world broke. As we watch them navigate the gap between their online persona and their friend's couch, we're going to pick up some essential English for financial stress, social pressure, and personal growth. Is the clout worth the cost? Let's find out. This is Chapter 1, The Filtered Morning.
The golden sunlight hit the espresso martini perfectly. Maya adjusted the angle of her phone by a fraction of an inch. She cropped out the chipped paint on the coffee table. She blurred the pile of laundry sitting on the floor just 3 feet away. Click. The photo looked like $1 million. In reality, the drink was cold, and the martini was just water and soy sauce. Maya tapped the screen, adding a caption, "Monday morning motivation, stay hungry." She hit share and watched the heart icons begin to flutter across the screen. A small rush of adrenaline hit her chest, but it faded quickly. The silence of the apartment returned, heavy and cold. "Maya, are you still on the couch?" Sarah walked into the living room, tripping over Maya's open suitcase. Maya didn't look up from her notifications. "I'm just finishing some networking, Sarah. Give me a second." Sarah sighed and looked at the half-empty box of generic cereal on the counter. "Networking doesn't pay the electric bill, Maya. You've been sleeping here for 3 weeks. I told you the bank is just verifying my international transfers," Maya lied. She used a calm, confident tone she had practiced in the mirror. She was putting up a front, even with her best friend. "I'm worried about you, Maya." Her voice softened. "You're living beyond your means. You spent your last $60 on that designer scarf yesterday." Maya felt a sting of shame, but she pushed it down. "It's an investment, Sarah. You have to look the part to get the contract." "But you don't have a part, Maya. You have a phone and a pile of debt." Maya stood up, wrapping the expensive silk scarf around her neck. She caught her reflection in the hallway mirror. On the screen, she was a rising star in the city's social scene. In the glass, she saw dark circles under her eyes and a shaking hand. She was reaching a breaking point, and the cracks were starting to show. "I have a meeting at 10, Maya said, grabbing her fake leather portfolio. "With who?" Sarah asked. Maya didn't answer because there was no meeting. She just needed to get out before the truth became too loud to ignore. She stepped out into the hallway, pulling the door shut behind her. The hallway was dim, but she kept her head high. She had an image to protect, even if she had nowhere to go.
Chapter 2, The Credit Limit Blues. The restaurant was called the Gilded Lily. It was the kind of place where a glass of water cost $8. Maya sat at a corner table, smoothing her skirt. Across from her was Julian, a mid-level marketing director. Maya had spent 2 hours researching his LinkedIn profile. She needed him to believe she was a consultant with a full roster of clients. "The lobster risotto here is divine," Maya said, her voice steady. She hadn't eaten a full meal in 2 days. "I usually prefer the tasting menu," Julian replied, looking impressed. Maya smiled, though her stomach was knotted with anxiety. She kept her phone face up on the table. Notifications from her latest post were still rolling in. "Beautiful life," one comment read. "Goals," read another. Maya felt a bead of sweat at her hairline. "So, about the project," Julian said, leaning in. "We need someone with a high-end aesthetic to lead the campaign." "My schedule is quite tight," Maya lied, sipping her expensive sparkling water. But for the right brand, I can make room. She was putting up a front, playing the part of the busy professional. The waiter arrived with the bill, placing it discreetly between them. Julian didn't reach for it. In his world, the person who invites usually pays. Maya felt her heart hammer against her ribs. She opened her designer wallet, which contained exactly one credit card. It was a card she knew was dangerously close to its limit. "Allow me," Maya said, her hand trembling slightly. She handed the card to the waiter. The seconds felt like hours as he walked to the station. She kept talking to Julian about brand synergy and organic growth, but her eyes were fixed on the waiter's back. The waiter returned, but he didn't have a receipt. He leaned in close, speaking in a low, polite whisper. "I'm sorry, Miss Vance, but the transaction was declined." The silence at the table felt deafening. Julian's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Oh, how embarrassing," Maya laughed, a sharp, nervous sound. "My accountant must have frozen the account for the international wire." She tried to look annoyed rather than terrified. "Do you have another card?" the waiter asked. I must have left my other wallet in my Uber," she stammered. Julian cleared his throat and pulled out his own card. "It's fine, Maya. I'll get this one." His tone had shifted from respect to mild pity. Maya felt the sting of a bruised ego. The investment lunch had turned into a public disaster. She had tried to keep up appearances, but the math didn't add up. They walked out of the restaurant into the bright afternoon sun. "I'll be in touch," Julian said, but he didn't look her in the eye. Maya watched him hail a taxi, leaving her on the sidewalk. She looked at her phone. 3 new followers, 200 likes, and a text from her bank. Account balance, $4.12. She was officially at a breaking point.
Chapter 3. The Art of the Tag. Maya stood outside a designer boutique on Fifth Avenue. She didn't go inside to buy anything. She adjusted her sunglasses and checked her reflection in the window. She was waiting for a specific moment. A black town car pulled up to the curb nearby. A woman in a sharp suit stepped out, carrying 3 shopping bags. The bags featured a famous gold logo. Maya moved quickly, stepping into the background of the woman's path. Click. She took a burst of photos. In the final shot, it looked like Maya was the one walking out of the store. She sat on a public bench and opened her editing app. She added a high-contrast filter to make the gold logos pop. "Shopping therapy," she typed for the caption. She added a geotag for the boutique. Maya felt a pang of hunger, but she ignored it. She was keeping up a facade for her followers. "Maya? Is that you?" A voice broke her concentration. It was an old college friend, Leo. Leo was wearing paint-stained jeans and carrying a heavy backpack. "I haven't seen you since graduation," Leo said, smiling warmly. Maya quickly hid her phone. "Leo, good to see you. I'm just finishing up some errands." Leo looked at her designer scarf in the boutique background. "Wow, looks like the consulting business is booming," he said. Maya nodded, her heart racing. "That's a lot of work, but the payoff is worth it." "That's great. So a few of us are grabbing pizza tonight. Just a casual get-together at the old spot. Want to come?" Maya hesitated. The old spot was a cheap pizza place with neon lights. If someone saw her there, it would ruin her luxury image. "I have a gallery opening tonight, Leo. Maybe next time." "A gallery opening? Fancy," Leo laughed. "Well, don't work too hard." He waved and walked away, looking happy and relaxed. Maya watched him go. She realized she was jealous of his paint-stained jeans. He didn't have to worry about lighting or angles. She looked back at her phone screen. Her shopping therapy post already had 50 likes, but her stomach growled again. She reached into her bag and pulled out a crushed granola bar. She ate it slowly, standing in front of the luxury store. She was putting on an act, and it was exhausting. She needed a new plan to get real money fast. She opened her laptop and searched for high-paying quick gigs. Nothing appeared except for delivery jobs and cleaning services. Maya closed the laptop. She couldn't do those jobs. Someone might see her. She was trapped in a prison of her own making. She was all show and no substance. She headed back toward Sarah's apartment, dreading the conversation. She had to find a way to make the lie true.
Chapter 4. Unpaid Rent, Paid Ads. Maya sat in a corner of the public library. It was the only place with free Wi-Fi and air conditioning. She had exactly $12 left in her checking account. She opened an email from a small skincare brand. "We love your aesthetic," the message read. "We will pay you $200 for a sponsored post." Maya felt a surge of hope. $200 could buy a week of groceries and a bus pass. But there was a catch. Please include a photo of yourself using the product in a luxury spa or high-end bathroom. Maya looked at her reflection in the library's dusty computer monitor. She was wearing the same designer scarf to hide her unwashed shirt. She didn't have access to a luxury spa. She didn't even have a key to a private bathroom anymore. Sarah had changed the locks on the apartment that morning. A text from Sarah sat on Maya's home screen. "I can't do this anymore, Maya. Your stuff is in the hallway. I have a life too, and I can't pay your way while you pretend to be a queen." Maya felt a lump in her throat. She was in over her head. She couldn't go back to the apartment. She took the skincare product, a small gold bottle, out of her bag. She walked to a nearby five-star hotel. She didn't check in at the front desk. She walked straight to the lobby restroom, keeping her head down. The bathroom was marble and gold. It was perfect. She spent 30 minutes taking photos in the mirror. She splashed water on her face to look refreshed. She smiled for the camera, looking like a woman without a care in the world. Click. She uploaded the photo and tagged it Self-Care Sunday. Then she sat on the floor of the bathroom stall and cried. The contrast between the paid ad and her reality was unbearable. She was selling a dream she couldn't afford to live. An hour later, the brand approved the post. They sent the payment to her digital wallet. But the bank's automated system was faster. The $200 was instantly swallowed by her overdraft fees. Current balance, $0, 0 cents. She had worked all day for a lie that paid her nothing. The rich lifestyle was literally making her homeless. She walked out of the hotel and onto the street. The sun was setting and the city lights were coming on. Maya saw her suitcase sitting lonely on the sidewalk outside Sarah's building. She had no money, no home, and a phone full of people who didn't really know her. She was down to the wire. Chapter 5. The Friend's Ultimatum. Maya stood on the sidewalk next to her suitcase. The wheels were crooked, and the zipper was straining. She looked up at Sarah's window, but the lights were off. She took a deep breath and knocked on the heavy oak door. Sarah opened it, but she didn't step aside. She stood in the doorway, her arms crossed tightly. "I can't let you back in, Maya," Sarah said, her voice flat. "I'm just waiting for a bank transfer, Sarah. It's coming." Maya tried to flash her most charming business smile. "Stop it," Sarah snapped, and the smile died on Maya's face. "I saw your post from the hotel bathroom today. I recognized the marble. You were pretending to be at a spa." Maya felt a hot wave of embarrassment wash over her. "It was a sponsored post. I'm building a brand, Sarah." "You're building a fantasy while I'm paying the electricity," Sarah countered. "You haven't bought a single bag of groceries in a month, but you bought a silk scarf that costs more than my car payment."
Maya looked down at her shoes, the designer heels pinching her toes. "I have to look successful to be successful," Maya whispered. "No, Maya, you have to be honest to be a friend." Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "There is $50 in here. It's for a bus ticket back to your parents." Maya recoiled as if the money were made of lead. "I can't go back there. Everyone thinks I'm making it big in the city." "Then you are choosing the likes over a roof over your head," Sarah said. She placed the envelope on top of Maya's suitcase. "I love you, but I won't be an accessory to your self-destruction." The door clicked shut, and the lock turned with a final heavy sound. Maya was alone on the street with $50 and a broken suitcase. She pulled out her phone to vent to her fans. She started to type, "Some people just don't want you to succeed." But her thumb hovered over the screen. She looked at her reflection in the dark glass of the phone. She looked exhausted, pale, and deeply unhappy. She was at the end of her rope. She realized that Sarah was the only person who actually knew her name. Everyone else only knew her handle. She picked up the envelope and sat on her suitcase. She had spent months burning bridges to stay on a pedestal. Now the pedestal was gone, and she had nowhere to land. She checked the bus schedule on her dying phone battery. The last bus to her hometown left in 2 hours. She looked at the designer scarf around her neck. It felt like a weight pulling her down into the pavement. She had to make a choice, her image or her survival. Chapter 6. Behind the Ring Light. The bus station smelled like stale coffee and diesel exhaust. Maya sat on a hard plastic chair, clutching her suitcase. She pulled out her ring light, the small circular lamp she used for her glow. It was the only thing in her bag that felt like power. She looked at her phone screen, which was down to 4% battery. Her latest post was trending in her small circle of followers. "You look so inspired," one person commented from 1,000 miles away. "I wish I had your life," another wrote. Maya felt a sharp, hollow ache in her chest. She was sitting in a bus station at 2 a.m., hiding from the light. She was living a double life, and the two worlds were colliding. She tried to take one last on-the-road selfie. She angled the ring light to hide the dark circles under her eyes, but the light flickered and died. Her phone screen turned black a second later. The reflection in the dark glass was just a tired girl in a dirty station. Maya felt a sudden, terrifying sense of solitude. Without the likes, she felt like she didn't exist. She realized she hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. Every word she spoke was a pitch, a lie, or a caption. She was hollowed out by her own ambition. The bus pulled into the bay with a loud hiss of brakes. The driver looked at her designer scarf and her broken suitcase. "Ticket?" he asked, his voice bored and tired. Maya handed him the $50 Sarah had given her. He gave her a few crumpled bills and change. She found a seat in the back, next to a window covered in grime. The bus started to move, leaving the city lights behind. Maya reached for her phone out of habit, but it remained cold. For the first time in a year, she was forced to just sit. No filters, no hashtags, no personal brand. She looked at her hands and realized her expensive manicure was chipping. Underneath the fake nails, her real ones were bitten to the quick. She leaned her head against the vibrating glass of the window. The rich Maya Vance was staying in the city. The real Maya was heading into the dark, toward a home she had mocked. She felt the weight of her mental toll finally breaking her. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in months, she slept without dreaming of content. She was off the grid, whether she liked it or not.
Chapter 7. The Accidental Exposure. The bus pulled into the small town of Oak Creek at dawn. Maya stepped off the bus, her designer heels clicking on the cracked pavement. The air smelled like damp pine and wood smoke. She pulled her silk scarf tight, trying to look like a visiting celebrity. "Maya, is that you?" a voice called out from a parked pickup truck. It was her younger brother, Sam. He looked at her suitcase, held together with a luggage strap. He looked at her expensive coat, which was covered in bus lint. "Mom said you were coming for a creative retreat," Sam said, grinning. "I'm just taking a break from the city's fast pace," Maya replied. She was still keeping up appearances, even in her hometown. Sam helped her load her bag into the back of the truck. "You look a little pale, sis. Is the big life exhausting?" "It's just a lot of networking, Sam. You wouldn't understand." They drove past the local diner and the hardware store. Maya felt a sudden urge to hide her face. What if someone saw her in a rusty old truck? They arrived at the small yellow house where she grew up. Her mother was waiting on the porch, holding a spatula. "My successful daughter is home," her mother cried, hugging her tight. Maya felt a sharp pang of guilt in her stomach. She walked into her old bedroom, which was still painted pale blue. She sat on the edge of the twin bed. She reached for her phone to check her notifications. She found a charger in the drawer and plugged it in. The screen flickered to life, and a flood of alerts hit the screen. But one notification stood out from the rest. A local gossip account from the city had posted a video. The caption read, "Spotted, the luxury Maya van sleeping on a bus." The video showed Maya slumped against the window, her mouth open. Her designer scarf was tucked under her chin like a pillow. The comments were brutal and fast. "I knew she was a fraud," one person wrote. "Where is the private jet today?" asked another. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. She was exposed in front of 50,000 people. She heard a knock on the door. It was Sam, holding his own phone with a worried expression. "Maya, have you seen the internet this morning?" The filtered life was crashing down in real time. She was caught in a lie, and there was no filter to fix it. She felt like she was suffocating in her own bedroom. Chapter 8. The Point of No Return. Maya stared at the blue light of her phone screen. The numbers were dropping in real time. Followers, 48,203, 48,150, 47,900. Each refresh felt like a physical blow to her chest. The bus video had gone viral in the worst way possible. "Maya, are you okay in there?" her mother called from the hallway. Maya didn't answer. She couldn't let her mother see her crying. She opened her camera app to record a defense video. She wiped her eyes and put on a layer of expensive concealer. "Hey guys, there's a fake video circulating," she started to whisper. "I was actually on a social experiment to see how people treat travelers." She stopped. The lie sounded pathetic even to her own ears. She looked at the designer scarf draped over her bedpost. She looked at the $4.12 balance notification from her bank. She was at a crossroads, and both paths looked terrifying. She could keep lying and become a joke, or she could tell the truth and lose everything. She scrolled through the comments one last time. Liar, fake, phony. One comment stood out. "I actually liked your fashion tips. Why did you have to pretend?" Maya felt a sharp, clear moment of clarity. The persona was a cage, and she was the one who had locked the door. She opened her settings and looked at the Deactivate Account button. Her thumb hovered over the red text.
If she clicked it, the Maya Vance the world knew would vanish. The brand she had spent 2 years building would be gone in a second. She thought about Sarah's empty apartment and the hotel bathroom. She thought about the cold, lonely bus ride and her bitten fingernails. She realized she wasn't losing a life, she was losing a burden. "Maya, breakfast is ready. We have blueberry pancakes," Sam shouted. Maya looked at the screen, then at the door. She felt a sudden, violent urge to be real. She tapped the button. "Are you sure you want to delete your account?" She didn't hesitate this time. Yes. The screen went white, then returned to the login page. Maya felt a strange, light sensation in her stomach. She walked to the mirror and took off the designer scarf. She wiped off the heavy makeup and the filtered look. She looked like a normal 24-year-old girl again. She was starting from scratch, and for the first time, she could breathe. She walked out of the room, leaving her phone on the bed. "I'm coming, Sam," she called out, her voice sounding real and steady. She was hitting rock bottom, but the ground felt solid.
Chapter 9. Stripping the Ego. Maya spent the first 3 days in a daze. She kept reaching for her pocket to check for notifications. Every time she realized her phone was empty, a pang of anxiety hit her. But by the 4th day, the anxiety started to turn into a strange kind of peace. She spent the morning folding her designer clothes into cardboard boxes. She looked at a pair of $400 heels she had only worn once. They were beautiful, but they had never actually touched the pavement. "I'm taking these to the consignment shop," Maya told Sam. "Are you sure?" Sam asked, surprised. "You loved those." "I loved the idea of them," corrected Maya. "But I need a pair of sturdy boots more than I need these." She walked into town carrying the boxes of her former life. The consignment shop owner, Mrs. Higgins, looked at the labels. "These are very high-end, Maya. Why are you selling them?" "I'm downsizing," Maya said, her voice steady. "And I'm looking for a job. Do you know anyone hiring?" Mrs. Higgins pointed across the street to the local library and community center. "They need someone to help with the after-school literacy program." Maya walked across the street, her heart pounding. She wasn't wearing a designer scarf or a power suit. She was wearing a plain sweater and jeans she had borrowed from Sam. The library director, a kind woman named Sarah, just like her friend, looked at her. "Do you have any experience with social media or communications?" Maya hesitated, a bitter taste in her mouth. "I know how to build an audience," Maya said carefully, "but I'm more interested in helping people tell their authentic stories." The director smiled and handed her an application. "We don't pay much, but the work is rewarding." Maya sat at a small wooden desk and began to write. She didn't use any buzzwords or brand synergy phrases. She wrote about her love for books and her desire to be a part of the community. She was stripping away the ego 1 sentence at a time. She realized that for the first time in years, she wasn't performing. She was just Maya. She walked home as the sun began to set over the trees. She didn't take a photo of the sunset. She just watched the colors change from orange to deep purple. She felt a sense of fulfillment that 1,000 likes could never give her. She was no longer a brand, she was a person. She was turning over a new leaf, and the air felt fresh. Chapter 10. Authenticity Found. Maya sat at the small circular table in the library's youth corner. She wasn't holding a ring light or a high-end camera. She was holding a worn-out copy of a classic novel. Around her sat 4 teenagers, all staring at their own phone screens. "Okay, guys," Maya said,
her voice warm and steady. Today we are going to talk about the digital shadow. One boy, Leo, looked up with a smirk. Is that a new horror movie, Miss Maya? In a way, Maya laughed, and the sound felt genuine. It's the version of ourselves we create for the internet. The one that is always happy, always traveling, and always rich. She shared a little bit of her own story, the fake lifestyle. She didn't use big words to sound superior. She used simple, honest English to connect with them. I spent 2 years building a ghost, she whispered, and I almost let that ghost eat my real life. The teenagers went quiet, their phones slowly lowering to the table. They started to talk about the pressure to look cool and perfect. Maya realized she was finally using her skills for something meaningful. She wasn't selling a product, she was sharing a lifeline. After the session, Maya walked to the local park. She saw a woman sitting on a bench looking at a designer bag. The woman was trying to take a selfie, adjusting her hair and pouting. Maya felt a wave of sympathy, not judgment. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her new phone. It was a basic model with no expensive editing apps. She had one new message from Sarah, her friend in the city. I saw your new blog post about the library. I'm proud of you, Maya. If you're ever in the city, the couch is always open for the real you. Maya smiled, a tear pricking the corner of her eye. She had spent months climbing a ladder that led nowhere. Now she was standing on solid ground, surrounded by people who cared. She looked at the sunset and felt a deep sense of contentment. Success wasn't a number of followers or a verified badge. Success was being able to look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. She was at peace with herself, and that was the greatest luxury of all. She walked home, her footsteps light on the gravel path. The story of the fake lifestyle was over. The story of Maya's real life was just beginning.
The story of Maya reminds us that a digital image is only a snapshot, not a soul. When we prioritize appearances over our actual well-being, we build a life on a foundation of sand. Real success isn't measured by the number of likes on a screen, but by the strength of our real-world relationships and our ability to be honest with ourselves. And that is the end of Maya's journey. She lost the designer clothes, the luxury tags, and 50,000 followers, but she finally found herself. It's a tough lesson, isn't it? In a world that constantly tells us to post our best life, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is live a real one. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever felt the pressure to look perfect online? Let's practice our English in the comments. And don't forget to solve the vocabulary quiz in the quiz section below the description box and write your score in the description. Thanks for watching The Fake Lifestyle. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that help you master English while navigating the real world. I'll see you in the next story. Goodbye.